I'm Niall Kennedy. I'm an independent consultant, developer, and entrepreneur in San Francisco. I am well known for being active in the widget community and developing JavaScript and other solutions there to help connect people's content across the entire web, and also through feed syndication, which is what typically powers a lot of these sites. A lot of my contributions this weekend have been how the data that we move around through feeds such as Atom and RSS can power these new social experiences and move data between multiple data silos. I gave a talk today on how to better look at a user's browser history and discern their sites of interest. What are the actual places that someone's visiting online within the last week to 9 days? That might be an interesting way to customize your content on behalf of that user. So when you're inside of a web browser, you load a page and there are multiple links on the page, and some of those links you've visited before and some of them are brand new to you. And so your browser might actually show the visited link in purple and the ones you haven't seen before in blue, and it's just a way to help you, give you a visual cue on what you might want to go and discover. Well, through the JavaScript and what's called CSS, applying styles to those links, you're able to detect if the person that is on your page right now has visited a certain link that you've displayed or not. And so what I did is I took that and put links that I cared about on the page. And so what if I just wanted to iterate through a list that I cared about to know if you'd visited Google or Yahoo, or if you're a New York Times reader or an LA Times reader, and how could I possibly change what I might display on my page based on that type of information. One of the problems that we have in the social networking world, you might already have a relationship with an existing site. You're a Google Reader user, you've already been on MySpace, but now you're coming to my site, or I want to pull in some of that data from another site. Right now we give a big long list. We've got about 50 different things you possibly could be a member of that you might want to pull some data from. So what I wanted to do is, how can we possibly scan through a known list, such as this list of 50, that's not a good user experience, scan through that list and figure out, well, we know that there are actually 5 sites that the user is actually actively engaged within the last 7 to 9 days. And so we're using some of the technologies that have already been there for many, many years in the browsers to do that. And I shared my JavaScript with the audience. We discussed practical uses for it, and also how some people might abuse it, or how the social contract might feel violated. This is a problem that a bunch of different sites had, because there are multiple options, but presenting all of those options to the user was not a good experience, because you just got a really long list. And also you have a lot of people that are coming to you asking, well, we'd like to be on that list. And then you say, well, I kind of already have 5 people there, and if I add the 6, it doesn't really look that great. So we were able to create new user experiences based on the technology that's available, which is really interesting. What I shared were the code to do this, how to take a list of links, place it on the page, and iterate through those links to determine if a user is has been actively visiting those sites. And then once you've discovered that, what do you want to do, and how do you want to present that data to the general world? The 2 examples that I used were social bookmarking and online feed aggregators. In terms of online feed aggregators, I have an RSS feed or an Atom feed that's on a page. And instead of showing a subscribe to this Atom feed, which is not the type of wording that a particular user might identify with, I instead want to place an add to my Yahoo button if that user happens to be a member of Yahoo and actively using the My Yahoo service. They might not really know what RSS or Atom means, but they do know that they do visit My Yahoo every day, and maybe they want Niall Kennedy's weblog on their front page. So I'm able to iterate through a list of about, say, 30 to 50 aggregators, and determine if the person that's currently viewing my website is a user of one of those services, and then show the particular branding for that service. And very similarly with online bookmarks, it's very common to see a little bar of bookmarks across the bottom of any blog post. And you want to be able to make it very easy for the user or the visitor to click on add to delicious, add to Reddit. Do you want to vote? Do you want to vote it up, vote it down? What are all the different things you could possibly do? And the reason why the publisher is so interested, it actually results in more traffic, because someone's going to go add it, and someone's going to see that you've added it, and it comes back. But as the number of social bookmarking sites has grown, it doesn't really become useful to put all of them in there. And also, I'd really like to be able to put in the most useful code possible for each of those sites, which sometimes means I would be bogging down the page even more. So for example, on the social bookmarking side, I would like to be able to show not only that you can submit this to Dig, but it's already been submitted to Dig, and there are currently 4 votes on it and 4 comments. But I only want to show that script on the page when I know that you're an active Dig user, and I'm gonna increase my engagement by doing so. So those are the 2 different uses and the 2 different pieces of code that I showed and provided, and I plan to bundle up and release as open source. And the base libraries are also there, and anyone can use those to compute styles on the web browsers that come and visit their site. But I really wanted to have 2 good use cases. Anyone that browses the web can identify and say that's useful instead of seeing a big jumble of buttons. Please just show me what's relevant to me. One other thing, I am cooking the user after I do a scan. It takes a little while to, not a really long time, it's not really noticeable, but there is a non-zero function to actually go and look at all this data. So I cookie a user for 30 days once I discover it. Once it expires, I take another look. Really shouldn't change that often of what bookmarking sites or readers you use. So I'll go back every 30 days and make sure that you're still using that particular function. I can just basically customize. It's pretty useful technology because you can take a look and see if you're thinking about deploying to a certain social network, say for example a widget. If you were looking at your particular weblog, your particular company developing a widget for a wider audience, you can have a test running to see, given 25 different widget platforms, what are the most active social networks or possible widget deployments that you could be coding a particular solution for. So for example, if Facebook is currently the most popular social network, but it turns out that everyone is using Tagged or is using Orkut that visits your page, then it's a lot more valuable for your audience to deliver an Orkut widget than it is to develop a Facebook or MySpace widget. So we're actually providing ways that you can apply statistics to a gut feeling or check the gut with stats. One use case was taking a look at maps. So if you're running a website, you have a particular event that you're going to 123 Main Street, and you want to be able to have that person add it to or look it up inside of MapQuest, Yahoo Maps, Google Maps, or any of the other mapping solutions. Let's say we're going to drop a list of 20 of them, or we'd like to be able to make sure we send the user to whatever their preferred mapping service may be. So given this case, we could take a look and say, well, what is the preferred mapping solution of this particular user? MapQuest, Google Maps, Yahoo Maps, Open Maps, many different things. And once we've taken that look, let's make sure that we, instead of showing a drop-down that gives people multiple options and perhaps doesn't convert them into actually mapping that location, let's only show the, hey, go take this to your Google Maps right away and maybe get a better conversion. Very much about conversion and how you can create a better experience. Also looking at advertising. If you were interested in placing an ad, since I'm sitting in O'Reilly, they do a lot of conferences. So if O'Reilly was interested in placing an ad for one of their upcoming conferences and they had multiple possible ad endpoints, they can go look at, they can put in a blog URL and run a test on their page on all the different places they might place that ad and figure out, are their visitors actually going there? What percentage of their visitors are already visiting those possible targets? Let's say it's Wall Street Journal or New York Times or a particular technology blog or a particular finance blog. So you can learn about your audience much, much better and produce the right types of products, advertising, and partnerships that you need to succeed.